We've talked about zooming out before. Sometimes when you're implementing a marketing strategy, you're just too close. You got to take a step back. And today we're talking about 2 examples that just happened the past 2 days and why it's important to go back to the basics sometimes.
Yeah, we were on a call with a couple of clients. Actually, yesterday we were on a call with this resorts. It's a K9 Resorts. It's a high-end luxury resort hotel. And what they were doing, we do all of the grand opening implementation for them, and we've had probably 10 to 12 different campaigns already going that have a lot of success. Well, this one store wanted to try something different because they were having a hard time converting their boarders to their daycare people. It's almost like 2 different sets of animals. So they wanted to try to implement a combination type hook in the grand opening hooks that we had. So they changed up everything, and they just weren't working. So we went back to the drawing board and saying, why did you even switch this? Because at that point, we didn't know what they wanted to do. They just were just adamant about, we need to change the hooks. So basically what we did is I said, look, go back to the way it's supposed to be because we know that works. And let's dissect the problem that you're having. So right now you're having a problem with boarders not becoming daycare people. And we kind of said, all right, so here's what you need to do. You kind of like, and this is just my style too. I always trying to lead with a joke to try to get them to lighten up when I'm trying to pitch something to them. So I said, it's just like a crack dealer does with kids. You give them the first one for free and then they're hooked and then they're going to just buy it from you forever. Well, you do the kind of same thing. So if you know they're boarders, they're loyal customers as far as boarding goes, so they trust you. Give them a daycare for free, but put it in almost, because right now it's the holiday season, put it in a package saying, hey, as a gift to you, maybe this is an early Christmas present. Why don't you bring your dog in here, have him spend the day with us while you go shopping, finish up your Christmas shopping, or go a day at the spa or anything like that. And they're like, oh, my God, that's so great. We should definitely do that. But it's almost like they couldn't think through it. They had, it's almost like having that outside perspective. They were so close to it that they were trying to jam down the people's throat that if you're a boarder, you get free daycare for 3 days, and it just wasn't fitting because that wasn't relevant to that person. So I thought that was a really good way to kind of take advantage. It's almost like listening to those things, listening to what they have, their own thing. And then I guess today we actually had another call with a pet insurance company, the number 1 pet insurance company in the world. And I don't know if do y'all have pet insurance? I mean, I know.
I have no clue.
Yeah, it's something that's a little bit different that most people don't even know exists. But so one of the things that we did with them is because they're regulated by insurance companies, they can't offer incentives. So they were trying to do direct mail with them, and they wanted to know how to do it. But one of the things that they didn't realize that they had was all of the data. So they're collecting, they know the dog owners, they know the dog's name, they know how old the dog is, they know the dog breed. So we kind of allowed them to almost like segment it out, put them in different buckets to kind of market to them based off of what they know. Because a big dog breed doesn't live as long, insurance costs different, whereas the smaller breeds, your purse dogs, things like that. So we created a whole campaign segmented out based off of their audience, which again, they were just like, how do we incentivize them? We can't give them anything. Do we do a sweepstakes? How do we position it? And we just kind of took a step back, zoomed out, looked at what you had, understand what you're doing with, start with the audience, and then kind of build the creative messaging directly from there.
Yeah, it's interesting. And listen, in the K9 example, the right way for them to do this, if they wanted to test, carve out a small piece of the budget and test that new theory. And don't, so if you have something that's working, don't stop doing it. If you want to test that, because you always should be testing to see if you can beat that control. You have a control, it's working, it's paying the bills. Take 10%, 20% of your marketing and try this new tactic. Don't take all of your marketing and put it in that tactic, because if it doesn't work, then you're basically screwed at that point. So there's a way to test things and stick your toe in the water, and you really should always be doing that anyway. And that alleviates, having any big kind of hiccup.
Yeah, and I think part of what we did too is with that is we usually start on all of these campaigns. We start with a Facebook mild budget before we even go into the direct mail and everything else, so that we can make sure all of the hooks work. You can actually almost see what the images you're using in Facebook, which ones are more relevant to that market, because every one of them shifts a little bit. So it's one of those things that we try to test out. And when this one was tested out because they wanted to try this new, it clearly wasn't working, and
Gotcha.
and we kind of pushed it that way. But yeah, it's again, get down back to the basics. Try to understand what works.